Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Rob Spencer. And for this video, we're talking about how networks can share files between different computers. And the generic term for this is called a network share. So essentially, there will be a computer or a server or some kind of network storage device. And what it can do is it can share its storage out to any device that can get to it. In that way, if you have a whole bunch of different users that need the same exact file, they'll be able to get to it. Or if you have very, very important files that are very valuable, all of the computers on the network can share those files and deposit them in one computer's shared folder. And maybe that computer has a lot of software and equipment on that computer that can duplicate, back up, and protect that data. In that way, if any other computer on the network were to fail or crash, it wouldn't cause any problems because the important data is on a special computer that has a shared folder. So to simulate some of this, I have two computers that we're going to be looking at. One computer, we can kind of call this the source computer. And essentially, this computer is going to have the ability to create a directory inside of its C drive, and then it's going to make that directory available to other devices. In addition to that, we have another computer that we're going to be using. We'll call this the target computer. This computer is going to actually get files from the remote computer. So to do this process, we have to confirm a couple of things. One of the first things we can confirm just for our lab experiments is that the firewalls are off on both of these computers. Now, on real networks, the firewalls would be on, but we're going to turn the firewalls off. I think I actually did it actually, but we're going to make sure the firewalls are off just to make this lab work more efficiently. So to check our firewall settings, there's a bunch of different ways you can do it. I'm going to go to control panels, and I'm going to look up network and internet sharing. Then from here, I'll go to Network and Sharing Center. And then in the lower left-hand corner, you'll notice that there's a section that talks about firewalls. All we have to do is click on where it says Windows Defender Firewall. And now we can actually see that this firewall is totally off. The reason that we know that the firewall is totally off is because it's showing red right now. So in real life, if you were to see a firewall and its settings are red, that would actually be bad on your computer because it means that your firewall is off and outside access can be gained to that computer. But turning firewalls on and off is a different class. So now that we know our firewall's off, we need to check things like our IP address on each computer because we need to make sure that each computer can find one another. So this computer is going to be getting files off of the other computer. So we'll look at the other computer and we need to check its IP address. To look at its IP address, I would go into command line and type in the brief network settings command. So now I see this computer's IP address is 10.10.10.10. That's this computer's identity. What I need to do is I want to see if my other computer can find this computer. So let's shift back to the other computer, which we can call PC11. I'll open up its command line, and I'll see if this computer can contact the other computer. The other computer, we'll call that PC10. So I'll do the same thing. I'll access the command line, and then I will do the command that shows me if my computer can contact another network device. One of those commands you can use is ping, P-I-N-G. And then the identity of the other computer. The other computer's identity is 10.10.10.10. We see we got replies from 10.10.10.10. That lets us know that we can actually communicate between these two computers. So that's a great start. So now what we're going to do is we're going to give this computer access to a shared folder on the other computer so it can get stuff. Here's how we can do it. First, I will go back to PC10. I'm going to create a computer inside of its C drive. Here's the process. We're going to go into the C drive of this system. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create another directory in this area. There's a bunch of different ways you can do it. You can click on New and Folder, and then we'll give it a name. We'll call it something simple like Help Link. So now we have a folder, or what we call in IT terms, we call it a directory. And then we're going to make it so that this directory can be found by other computers on the network. To do that, we will right-click on the folder. And then we will go to Properties. Now under here, we will click on Sharing. We're going to go past that first share. That's a basic share. We don't want to play with that. We want to go to advanced sharing. Then we can give this folder a name that it advertises on the network. We're going to use the same exact name, which is Help Link. Then we're going to set up permissions for this folder. Permissions are whoever has the ability to do stuff in this directory. We're going to keep it for everyone. Then where it says full control, we will put a check mark in that allow box. So everyone will have full control of this directory. In real life, we wouldn't do it this way. We would be more specific about which users have access. We're just doing it this way to make it work for this lab. Then I'm going to hit apply and OK. Apply and OK. It lets you know that this directory now has a name that it's going to be shared with. There's still another thing. We set up permissions. That means what users can do inside of it. But now we also need to set up security, because security says who can get to it. So we'll click on the security tab. By default, the everyone group's not going to be in here. So we're going to put the everyone group in. We'll go to edit. then add. Then we put in everyone. You can actually abbreviate it sometimes. Then I'll hit check names. When it finds the group, it will underline the name. Then we hit OK. Now we see that the everyone group is in the permissions section. You can click on it one time just to make sure it's the right area. And then, just like before, after full control, we hit allow. Apply. OK. Then close. What we did is we set up all the permissions so that any user on our network that can find this computer, that can find PC10, will have access to anything inside that directory. Let's see how this actually works. I'm going to go inside the directory, and I'm going to place a file. Look. So if anybody gets into that directory, they're going to be able to see this file. Now, let's make sure that this file is actually being advertised by this system. There's two ways that you can do it. One way is in the address bar. You can put in something called a UNC. We'll talk more about that later. Another way you can do it that text will do is you can use command line to see if the share is being advertised. So let's open up command line again. And then we can type in the command net space share. Then we hit the enter key. Now, everything on this machine that is accessible on the network will literally be advertised and displayed inside of this command line. So here we do see the directory that's in C drive called help link. That directory is available for anyone to get into. There's a number of other shares that are already on this machine. Don't worry about those right now. That's for another class. So now that we know that this share is viewable on the network, let's see if another computer can actually get to it. To do that, let's go ahead and go to PC11. So our job now is to see if we can get to PC10's shared folder called help link. Now, the easiest way to do that is by using something called a UNC, to display some information about this computer. We can see under this PC, it only has access to its own drive. It doesn't have access to a directory called help link. To get to that directory, we would use something called a UNC, and we can actually place it inside of the address bar in this field. To get an idea of what a UNC is, we can look at this screen right here. This is a UNC, and that's the wrong name. Universal Naming Convention. That's for another class. Universal Naming Convention, as UNC, essentially what you do is you put in 2 of these slashes, and then you put in the device's identity, like server 1, server 2, network share 6, or something like that. And then you put in the name of whatever share exists on that device. Or if you're already in the share, you can actually type in the name of a file that's on that share. That's like going to automatically open or something along those lines. So here, since we're not using something called domain name system, we're going to be using the identity of 10, 10, 10, 10, which is the identity of that other computer. And then it's going to show us any shares that we can get to remote. So let's go ahead and place this in. Just so I don't have to do a bunch of typing, I'm going to do some copying and pasting. So inside of this address bar, I can click once and then paste that UNC share. You'll notice it's starting to go to that device and it's letting me know that there's a directory called help link available. Just in case there's other directories, I'm just going to hit the enter key. Look at that, look at that. There is that directory called help link. We can click inside of it and we can see that file that's in there. And remember, right now, we're on the PC that's 10, 10, 10, 11, but we're looking at that share that's inside of 10, 10, 10, 10. And in fact, we can actually place files inside of here. So from here, I can right click, do new, and I'll put in another file. Thanks for making this available to us. Literally, we have the ability to put files in that directory, take files out of the directory, so on down the line. Let's see what it looks like on the other computer. So again, right now, we're remotely accessing a share called help link that exists on the computer with the IP address of 10, 10, 10, 10. This computer we're looking at right now, this is a computer that has the IP address of 10, 10, 10, 11. So let's look at the other computer and let's look inside of its C drive. Again, there's that directory called help link. Let's look inside the directory. Wow, there's that file. So essentially, these two computers are talking to each other and they're allowing each other to put files inside of those directories. Let's go ahead and create another file. We'll put a folder in there this time. Now let's look back at the other computer. Again, right now, we're on the computer that has the IP address of 10, 10, 10, 10. The other computer can access the files that exist on this computer's C drive in this directory by using the UNC because we created that network share. Let's go back to the other computer just to see if we can see all three of those files. Look at that, look at that. There is that file, directory we created. If we wanted to, we can get rid of any files in there as well because we set it up so the users would have full access to that directory. This is the concept of creating a network share. Essentially, you have two machines that can communicate with one another. Now, here's one more cool thing that we can do. Not many users will know how to use the command line and get into the UNC and all those other things. But you might want them always to have access to this directory. So what we can do is we can make it so that directory looks like a drive in the computer. Again, when we go into File Explorer. It shows us everything this computer has access to. When we click this PC, it shows us all the drives. It has another UNC that it actually connects to. It sees the CD or DVD drive. Well, what we'd like to do is we like to see that other drive listed here as well, or that help link directory. We want to have it listed here as if it's a drive. So this is what we do. We go ahead and we do that UNC command. It shows us the directory inside of the computer that has this IP address that is shared. And then we're going to make this constantly appear on this computer without going through this UNC process. We'll right click. We'll go to show more options. Then we'll go to map network drive. We can give it any drive letter we want it to have. I'll go ahead and go with, let's see, it was called help link. So we'll go ahead and make it H drive. You can use any drive letter that's not presently being used. Then I'll hit finish. Now we can close out all these crazy windows. And now every time the user logs in, they can click on this PC and they will see that drive always there. So essentially, all of your users on your network, you can have 100 users on your network, and they are all logging into their own computers, and they can save data to this simple network share, and you would put that network share on a high power computer that has a lot of software that will protect that directory from being damaged. Or if that directory is ever damaged, you can always do a restore and put the data back. So that's what this video was all about. The video was all about creating network shares so your users can have access to a central place to put all their data and not necessarily have to store it on that one computer that they're using. I hope this video has been helpful, and you guys have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.